Boom for the U.S. Capital expenditures up 15% in history. When CapEx is up, jobs will follow. The One Big Beautiful Bill is an incredible, as you said, thanks to your leadership, along with Speaker Johnson, Senator Leader Thune, we had that done on July 4th, which everyone said was impossible. And the great thing about
So as we speak, folks, Donald Trump is being bored by his own cabinet into a coma. He is visibly fighting off falling asleep during this disastrous cabinet meeting on live TV. And speaking of this cabinet meeting, we're going to have to spend multiple videos dissecting it because there's a lot to unpack here. But Donald Trump is falling asleep on live TV. And I should point out that during this cabinet meeting, he was insisting that he's in peak physical and mental form. So this is going to be especially humiliating for Trump. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got some other clips to play just to really show you that Trump is struggling to stay awake. He's far from virile. He's far from animated. Could be because he spent, anywhere from 2 to 5 hours last night, on this unhinged True Social rant, which we talked about in a previous video. Rather than getting rest and doing the job of the presidency, he was too busy acting like an unemployed teenager smashing a Red Bull. So let's look at Donald Trump visibly falling asleep during this cabinet meeting, which is televised.
And also working with Christian Department of Homeland Security, making sure that everyone that lives inside of public housing is accounted for and that they are American people. And so I say that and I emphasize that to know that we prioritize American people and American people only. Lastly, sir, in Atlantic City, we took over the Atlantic City public housing because the living conditions were deplorable. And they have people that have been living there for 3 generations, and they were being treated very bad. And so I took it so that we can now give people a safe place to stay. And working with the First Lady in the Foster Youth Initiative has been a great joy for me and our team. So thank you for doing that executive order to make sure that our foster youth have a safe landing pad and have financial literacy as they age out of the foster youth system. And so you talked about affordability.
So he's listening to the HUD Secretary, Secretary Turner, just ramble on and on and on. And you can tell he's like, he has no idea what the hell is going on. He visibly hunched over, struggling to stay awake, much less pay attention. Got a couple more because, again, it keeps going on. Here's another clip of Trump struggling to stay awake.
So as of next week, we have begun and will begin to stop moving federal funds into those states until they comply and they tell us and allow us to partner with them to root out this fraud and to protect the American taxpayer.
He's like, guys, wrap this up. Do I need to be here for this? I'd much rather eat my McDonald's and shit post on Truth Social. Another clip of Trump struggling to stay awake, and he's making some weird expressions in so doing.
$1,000 of household income, and under the first 10 months of this Trump administration, they have gained over $1,000 of household income. What that says very clearly is that we are fixing the problem that Joe Biden and the Democrats created in the last administration. $1,000 of household.
So he's listening to J.D. Vance, again, struggling to stay awake. So we have clips, again, proving that Donald Trump is struggling to stay awake, showing his infirmity, his weakness in real time. Now let's backtrack. Let's go back to the very beginning. I want to show you some instances of Trump's, just stupidity on full display during this cabinet meeting. We have at least one, if not 2 more videos to talk about because the sycophancy on display here, Pete Hegseth interjects, a lot to talk about. But this one, I really want to focus on Trump himself and his cognitive and physical decline, starting with this.
But our prices now for energy, but for gasoline are really low. Electricity's coming down. And when that comes down, everything comes down. But the word affordability is a Democrat scam. They say it, and then they go into the next subject. And everyone thinks, oh, they had lower prices. No, they had the worst inflation in the history of our country.
The reason that I say that this right here, what he's talking about, the very beginning of the shit show cabinet meeting, is a demonstration of cognitive decline is because Trump knows, he's admitted it, that last month's blue wave elections were a consequence of Democrats campaigning relentlessly on the message of affordability. Now he's saying affordability isn't an issue, right? So he was simultaneously saying, listen, we need to reclaim the affordability issue, right? We need to acknowledge it, and we need to campaign on it, and we need to show that we're making serious efforts for it. Now he's basically telling Americans to F off. He's like, listen, I know you're concerned about prices or whatever, but it's actually just fake news, and there is no affordability crisis. Everything is great, so stop complaining. What is that if not stupidity such that it's indicative of cognitive decline, especially when you acknowledged the efficacy of this message just a few weeks ago? What are you doing, man?
Now, some people will correct me, because they always love to correct me, even though I'm right about everything. But some people like to correct me, and they say 48 years. I say it's not 48 years, it's much more. But they say it's the worst inflation that we've had in 40
So Donald Trump talking about he's right about everything when in fact he's wrong far more often than he's right again. And we'll see further demonstrations in just a few clips of Trump being wrong about, like, for example, basic math. Again, we'll get to that. But there's no question that inflation was high under the Biden administration, thanks in large part, due to supply shocks from COVID, that crisis that Trump mismanaged, which is why it wasn't just the United States affected by inflation. It was the rest of the world. And the United States managed that inflation better than any other world economy. But when Biden left office, inflation was coming down. Under Trump, it stopped and actually ticked back up. This is the problem. This is why people are blaming Trump, rightly, and not Biden. Because it's like, bro, you could have just rode the wave. Instead, you're imposing these ridiculous tariffs, which are raising prices. So Trump is trying to engage in revisionist history. Well, you guys remember when prices were high under Biden, right? And it was the worst in history. I know that it's not supported by the facts or the evidence, but just like, trust me, and like, don't correct me because I'm right about everything. I'm also right when I say that this is a hoax and it's not a big deal, and you all should just be grateful what I give you. Really stupid, incoherent messaging coming from Trump here, which Democrats can absolutely run with as we head closer and closer into the midterm season.
to slash drug prices by 200%, 300%, 400%, 500%, 600%, 700%, 800%. Nobody's ever heard of it before because I instituted favored nations.
The reason that nobody's ever heard of this before is because those figures are literally mathematically impossible. You can't reduce the price of drugs by 700% because, again, once you get past 100%, once you get to 100%, the drug is free. Literally no profit. Literally, you don't have to pay anything. You go anything beyond that, then the pharmaceutical companies are paying you to take the drugs, which of course they're not doing. It's not free, and they're not giving, paying you to take the drugs. So Trump is just lying or stupid about how basic math works. Again, proof of cognitive decline right then and there.
So we're paying, as an example, for the, let's call it the fat drug, FAT, for fat people. Anybody use it at the table? Don't ask. But the fat drug was $135. Think of that. For certain people, $1,300 for certain countries, $1,300 in New York. So in New York, it was $1,300. And in London, it was $135. And a friend of mine called me, he said, what is this? Why is it? He got used to paying $1,300. Well, now what we have it down to is, Bobby, what's the number? Like 150 or something? We have it down to.
So again, he's talking about, and listen, if he follows through with this, this will be an objectively good policy for Americans that I'm happy to give Trump credit for. It's still nowhere near what he's talking about in terms of reducing prices for all drugs, 700%, sometimes 1,500%. Still, the percentages are not true, but it's just so funny to me. Where it's like, I call it the fat drug for fatties, for fat people. FAT, it rhymes with CAT, which is a cat, and you can have cats that are fat too. I don't know if they can take the drug. Bobby, can they take the drug? Can fat cats take the drugs? Again, just total verbal diarrhea.
But you always find something new, like, is he in good health? Biden was great, but is Trump in good health? I sit here, I do 4 news conferences a day. I ask questions from very intelligent lunatics, you people. And I give the right answers. There's never a scandal. There's never a problem. I give you answers that solve your little problems. You go back and you can't find anything, but you do stories about Biden was in wonderful health. The guy didn't do a news conference for 8 months. If I go one day, I had one day where I didn't do a news conference, there's something wrong with the president. You people are crazy. I'll let you know when there's something wrong. There will be someday. That's going to happen to all of us. But right now, I think I'm sharper than I was 25 years ago, but who the hell knows?
So again, everything he just said there was a lie. You know, there's no scandal. I tell you everything. I mean, there's scandals all the time. You lie all the time. You refuse to answer questions substantively all the time. There are ample and abundant reasons why people have questions about your health, and the answers that you gave during this cabinet meeting aren't making that any easier on you. They are only exacerbating concern, and rightly so. And you falling asleep during this cabinet meeting is not helping you either.
I took my physical. I got all A's, everything. But they said to me, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, is it hard? They said, yes. I said, well, I'm a very smart person. Who was the last president to take one? No president has ever agreed to take one. Because when you get into the mid-questions, meaning, you know, 10, question number 10, 11, 12, 28, 30, they get harder and harder. And they said, would you like to do it? I said, well, no reason to do it. Nobody's ever done it. I'll do it maybe, but there's really no reason. They said, sir, the problem is this is Walter Reed Hospital. And that's a military hospital. And that means that things are, you know, sort of open. It's not like private where you have, if you do poorly, we'll have to, probably you'll find out. I said, I won't do poorly. I'm a smart person, not a stupid person. And as the doctor will tell you, I aced it. Right, Susie? I aced. I got every question right. And these are tough questions. These are questions that I would say 99% of the people that I'm talking to right now, meaning the people that, from the fake news, would not do well in those exams. But I'm the only one that took it. I got every single question right. And then I read in the New York Times, is Trump sharp? Trump is sharp. But they're not sharp. That's why they're going out of business, the New York Times. I hear.
So the New York Times isn't going out of business. And again, does any of that sound like a person who's actually genuinely confident in his ability to function cognitively, or, you know, who's actually smart? It was just a total incoherent mess, and one non sequitur after another, one lie after another. The test that he took was to detect Alzheimer's and dementia, and we don't know what the results are. And again, just to close the loop on this, because we're going to do multiple videos about this shit show cabinet meeting. After Trump ran his mouth about all of that, you have the videos that I played you at the beginning where he's falling asleep in real time. And here's just one more from just a few seconds ago while we were recording.
And we want our workforce to be educated. We do not need the numbers that we have seen across this country where our 4th through 8th graders cannot read, write, or do any math, and they are our future workforce. We have to depend on the American workforce.
So again, folks, he is falling asleep in real time. This man is physically and mentally unfit for the presidency, and we're stuck with him at least for another 3 years. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.